good? Okay. Good afternoon. On October 17, 2018, the Ashtabula County Grand Jury secretly and directly indicted Kelsey Marie Blankenship on the following 7 charges relating to the October 7, 2017 death of her 13-month-old daughter, Serenity Jaslyn Sky Sutley, which occurred in Conneaut. 2 counts of murder, an unclassified felony, 1 count of felonious assault, a second-degree felony, 2 counts of endangering children, a second-degree felony, 1 count of endangering children, a third-degree felony, and 1 count of domestic violence, a first-degree misdemeanor. Ms. Blankenship was arrested this morning by the Conneaut Police Department and is currently incarcerated in the Ashtabula County Jail. She will be arraigned before the Ashtabula County Common Pleas Judge Thomas Harris in the near future, and my office will issue a notification as soon as the date and time of that arraignment is scheduled. Charges of aggravated murder, rape, felonious assault, and domestic violence remain pending against Joshua D. Gurdo, Ms. Blankenship's live-in boyfriend at the time of the child's death and who led law enforcement on a 3-week nationwide manhunt after the child's death. However, my office has filed with the court today a motion to dismiss the death penalty specifications associated with the aggravated murder charges against Mr. Gurdo as a result of this indictment of Ms. Blankenship. The investigation relating to the tragic murder of Serenity has been continuing since Gurdo's indictment on November 7th of last year and will continue even beyond today's date. Our ultimate goal with the indictments against both Blankenship and Gurdo is to obtain justice for Serenity and nothing else. This poor child was brutally beaten and raped, and my office and law enforcement is doing and will continue to do everything in our power to secure justice for a child whose spirit lives on in each of us handling this case. I would like to express my appreciation to the Conneaut Police Department and the Ohio Attorney General's Office, Bureau of Criminal Investigation, for their continued work on this very difficult case. Behind me, Detective Michael Sullivan with the Conneaut Police Department, Chief Michael Colby with the Conneaut Police Department, Detective Michael Bertolazio with the Conneaut Police Department, my Chief Assistant, Cecilia Cooper, and with the Bureau of Criminal Investigation, J.P. Rigard, right? I always say your name wrong, and it's spelled R-I-G-A-U-D, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Your name, sir?
I'm sorry?
Your name?
My name is Nicholas Irochi. I'm the Ashtabula County Prosecutor, and that's spelled I-A-R-O-C-C-I. Okay. The reason for the press conference is to answer any questions that we are able to answer at this time. I could have easily issued a press release, but I didn't want to have to answer phone calls the rest of the day and weekend, so I'm going to do my best to answer your questions at this time. Yes.
So what changed that led to this new indictment? What new evidence was there?
We're not going to get into the details of the new evidence, but there has been evidence that has come to light since the original indictment of Mr. Gurdo that the grand jury found compelling enough to indict Ms. Blankenship on.
So did Gurdo implicate her?
I'm not going to get into the details of that evidence.
Could there potentially be other arrests in the future as well, family members?
At this time, we don't expect any additional arrests to be made on this case.
Why are you seeking to dismiss the death penalty specification against Gurdo?
We think, both Ms. Cooper and I, on behalf of the prosecutor's office, think that is the fair and correct thing to do as a result of this indictment.
Why? Why is it why have you changed your mind on that?
We're not going to get into the details of that. That may come to light in the future, but at this time I'm not going to get into the reasons why.
What can you tell us about, you said it was a brutal killing, what can you tell us about what actually happened to this little girl?
The Cuyahoga County Medical Examiner's Office, which performed the autopsy, found that this child received blunt force trauma to all parts of her body, severe injuries to her head and to her face, to her torso, and she was vaginally raped brutally. So this child received a horrible death, and being only 13 months old, my office and law enforcement is going to do everything we can to make sure the person or persons who's responsible will pay for her death and how brutally she died.
I can tell this is hard for you guys to sit here and for you to say those words out loud. How has your office emotionally kind of been handling this case since it has been ongoing for about a year now?
Yeah, I'm not going to get into the I'm sorry if my emotions, and it's hard to keep your emotions in cases like this, and far too often these cases are happening in this county. I'm not going to get into why I feel emotional about it, but I do want to say that this child deserves justice, and even if it means convicting her mother for what happened to her. Thank you.
Has there been any evidence of, or any involvement with the child or the couple, children's services, or anything of that nature prior to this?
Yeah, you're getting into some territory that well, I would be willing to talk to you about. Now's not the appropriate time. Thank you.
Would you like the community learn from this incident?
I want the community, all of us want the community to know that we're doing everything we possibly can, and we have been doing everything we possibly can to find the killer and the person who caused this death. And just because Ms. Blankenship has now been indicted does not mean the investigation has stopped. We are going to continue to investigate, continue to interview potential witnesses, continue to look into this case, because it's a very difficult one. And I'm not going to get into the reasons it's a difficult case, but factually it is a challenge.
What has Kelsey Blankenship's demeanor been like throughout this investigation, leading up to today?
Yeah, I'm not going to get into what I perceive as her demeanor, because my perceptions really aren't evidence and not anything that I could testify to in a courtroom. But I will say that, you know, since Mr. Gurdo's indictment, Ms. Blankenship has been fairly cooperative with law enforcement and providing statements and providing us information at our request.
Is there anything the public can do to help further in this investigation?
Yeah, avoid jumping to conclusions. Avoid making accusations and inappropriate comments, particularly on social media, and let us do our job, and let the courts do its job, and make sure that whoever is responsible for this pays.
Did the murder happen at the home on Clark Street?
Yes, it did.
You mentioned you're seeing far too many of these types of cases in the community. Is there a message for parents or resources or something available to parents who might just, you know, kind of not be able to take it anymore?
If you see something unusual, if there's something that you feel is inappropriate happening with, in particular, a child, report it, whether it be to police officers, children's services. Do not think that someone else is reporting it. Do not think that what you are observing perhaps is just, you know, an isolated incident. It's important that there's a report that's made and that a record is made of what was observed. If anything comes of it, so be it. But the purpose is to document what may be happening to that child. So yes, report what you observe.
Have you had any contact with Serenity's biological father, and has he mentioned anything about this case?
we have, through our Victims of Crime offices, have had limited discussions with him. And we have, through our Victims of Crime office, been communicating with the appropriate family members about this case.
Were there any signs of abuse to Serenity before the murder?
Yeah, I'm not going to get into that. That's a great question, but at this time, I'm not going to divulge anything along those lines. Does anyone else here want to say anything? Chief? Okay. Yes?
I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this. The fact that he ran off,
Mm-hmm.
did that take the focus away from her, and because you had this manhunt and all that other stuff, you know, before you arrested him, maybe you don't know, would she have been implicated sooner if he hadn't, you know, run off and all that?
That certainly is a possibility, Martha.
You don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's a possibility. I don't know for certain if that would have happened, but him running from police and being on the run for approximately 3 weeks did place the focal point on him.
How old are Gerdo and Blankenship now?
You know, I don't have that information. Do you know offhand? Yeah, he's in his late 30s. She's in her lower 20s. Yeah, I'm sorry I don't have that. We can provide that to you a little later.
Didn't she go through the county drug court program?
Yes.
He's not the father of a child?
Mr. Gerdo? No, he's not.
Does she have other children?
No, this was her only child.
Was she arrested without incident?
Where was she arrested?
She was located at a apartment building on Sandusky Street in Conneaut.
Is that where she's been living?
Yeah, I don't know if that's, she was found at that apartment building today. Anything else?
Had she been a person of interest early on? Like, or is this something that changed months later?
Ms. Blankenship has frankly always been a person of interest. I'll stop there. Yes.
Does she have a record with the Conneaut police?
Yeah, we can't get into that, Martha. I'm sorry.
We'd like to know where his address is so we could get the neighborhood shot. Can you provide us the address where he's been arrested? We
Yeah.
don't have to go inside people's house, but we got to get the area at least.
Yeah, we're not going to provide that to you. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Well, a mugshot.
And the reason is it's not for Ms. Blankenship, it's for other people who live in that apartment building and who have nothing to do with that case and their right of privacy. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Will a mugshot of her be provided?
Yes, you can obtain that through the sheriff's department, but we'll work on getting a mugshot. Yeah, we can perhaps get one and then we can email that to those who are on the email list. We can do that later.
Do you expect she'll be arraigned today or next week?
It'll be next week, I'm sure of it. Unless,
There's gotta be notifications under Marcy's law.
yeah, I mean, with Marcy's Law, there is a period of time that victims have a right to be notified, so we expect it to be next week. Sometimes the courts surprise us, though. We're given very short notice, but as far as I'm concerned, it will be next week.